Hi everybody, it's Dean again. I just wanted to follow up my first video with a few more specific points about some of the things that I mentioned. So one of the points that I mentioned in my last video was that we built connections with young adults. And so one of the ways we did that was by making ourselves more visible. So it was my experience when I first got to Syracuse that I actually wasn't even sure if there was something like a young adult league or a Telos project or some young adult ministry there, just because I, hadn't heard about it. And so for newcomers to the community like me, I wanted to, make ourselves more visible. And so some of the ways we did that was by creating an email account. We created a MailChimp, newsletter. We created social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram. And Father David also helped us, make ourselves a little more visible on the website as well for the parish. So that was something that we did more on the community level or even public level. And then, but a key component of that too was creating connections on the individual or personal level. And so, sure, once we had established all those big picture things, we also, would reach out to some of our young adults personally if we knew we had an event coming up, via text message, or if we saw them in church one day or something like that. And so those were some of the few specific things that we did to build those connections. Now, another point I mentioned in my last video was that we built motivation in those young adults to come back to us more often and to our events. So some of the specific ways that we did that were honestly creating just like a safe space for those young adults. So I think especially for some of those newer young adults who aren't used to maybe attending church, or who haven't participated in like a Bible study before, or who haven't attended many different church services before. So one of the things that we did to sort of reach out to those young adults was we tried to just meet them in a very like simple social way. We would just have a very casual dinner, or we would meet at someone's house, or we would just have a purely social event. And that really allowed us to just establish these basic friendships and relationships before we got into some of those deeper things like talking about God and talking about religion and some of those things that come along with like deeper friendships. So that was something that we did to build motivation in people to come to more and more of our events, was just really kind of becoming friends with them first. So the one last point I mentioned in my first video, was building love for the church in those young adults. And so one of the ways we did that was by just slowly introducing them to it. So once we had established good friendships with them, we started having more and more of our events in the church. So one specific sort of type of event that we had was called a hotspot. So we would designate, a specific church service to attend together as a group, just because one of the things that we noticed was that one of the main barriers to young adults attending different church services was because they didn't have anyone to go with. So we tried to break down that barrier by giving them sort of a group to go with, and to make it less intimidating for them in that sense. And typically this would be accompanied by, let's say, like a dinner afterwards or something like that, where we could decompress, and it just became a really enjoyable thing. So I think the church did its thing, and we just had to bring the young adults to her. And I think it really worked out for us in the long run. And so anyways, I'd just like to wish you guys the best in your own Telos journeys, and thanks very much for listening.